Good evening, guys. Welcome to the Bears Huddle podcast. I'm Owen James, and this is your UK take on our Chicago Bears, guys. It is about 10:30 here at night in the UK, and we're going to talk and reflect on the injury report that has dropped today with the updates for our Bears ahead of the game against Dallas on Sunday. We'll also look at the Dallas Cowboys and how they appear to be getting healthier, which is worrying times indeed. Interesting that Ben Johnson said that we were playing our best football in December, which is slightly concerning given the number of games that have passed by that point. The fact that we will be at our best in December. So, you've got to kind of hope that if that's the case, that if we are apparently at our best in December, which means that therefore that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 games that have already got, plus 11 games that have passed with only 6 games remaining. You've got to kind of hope we picked up some victories by that point, or else things are not going to be good for Ben Johnson and the Bears. Worrying times indeed. A few other interesting points that he said that we'll see some more use of the tight ends. We'll see some more use of players who have as yet perhaps not figured as much as we would have wanted them to. I certainly hope that Coleston Loveland will start to play more of a part in this offense. That kid certainly can move. He runs great routes. He's strong. He's physical. He's quick. And he certainly needs more of a part in this Bears offense. People have been likening him to the start made by Tyler Warren in Indianapolis and saying that Warren has massively outperformed Loveland. Well, Loveland hasn't been involved and he hasn't had many targets and has not had the opportunity to impress. So I think likening Loveland to Warren is very unfair at this stage. Loveland, I think, there was a point, I think, in that game where, Loveland ran some fantastic routes. There was times when he was even wide open and missed by Caleb Williams. And we can debate, obviously, Caleb Williams all you want. But Loveland, I think, does have to play a much bigger part in this offense. And I hope that Ben Johnson, who did at least come out and say that when he was asked about the lack of involvement for tight ends, that's on me. That's down to me. I need to change that. I need to move forward with that. So hopefully we'll start to see that change this weekend, because I do think, given the fact we're going up against Matt Eberflus, the former Bears head coach, whose defenses are often weak over the middle, I think that Cole Kmet and Coleston Loveland could have a big impact on Sunday's game at Soldier Field. I really do think that could be the case. Now, in terms of that injury report which dropped, it's not looking a lot better. In fact, it's getting worse, if anything. Only one person improved in their status, which was Grady Jarrett. Now, he had that knee injury. He did not practice Wednesday. He was limited in participation Thursday, which is kind of trending towards him being full by Friday, or even limited again, but still available for Sunday's game against the Cowboys. DeAndre Swift with a quad was limited again. DeAndre Swift is limited anyway. The guy is second rate anyway. I really hope that, that if this is the case, that DeAndre Swift is not fully fit, that Carmen Ungai gets more touches on the ball, because at this moment in time, DeAndre Swift is really poor and he's not doing a good job as the Bears running back, and our run game is just non-existent, man. It is just so bad. And DeAndre Swift is a big part of why it is so bad. And I do hope that Roshan Johnson, that Carmen Ungai, Carmen Ungai for me, I think he's a guy who can make a big impact. He's like a little bowling ball. I think he can have an impact. I think he needs to have more of an impact. I think he needs to be schemed more into this. And I think I'd be giving a lot more touches to Carmen Ungai over DeAndre Swift. In terms of the rest of them, Kieran Amagaji went from limited to did not practice. No great loss there. I think Amagaji's not been part of the first 2 weeks. I think the left tackle debate, we can talk that through. Braxton Jones, we talked about on the podcast yesterday, earlier today, Braxton Jones has been absolute trash. 77% of the pressures against the Lions came from him. He was responsible for 2 sacks in the opening 2 games. He has been absolute garbage. For me, Theo Benedette or Ozzy Trapillo, and I know Trapillo's a right tackle essentially, but he can play left tackle, have got to come into reckoning for Sunday's game, and Braxton Jones has to be benched anyway. TJ Edwards is still out, which is a massive miss given his influential monster-like presence in that linebacker group. Noah Sewell's done great, don't get me wrong. Yes, he's not so great in coverage. Tremaine Edmonds has not been good. So TJ Edwards been out is a massive loss. Kyler Gordon also continues to be out. This is worrying because this is an injury that happened before the season began. How much longer is this going to go on? How much longer is this going to persist? It is very worrying. How long Kyler Gordon is out for, and hopefully Kyler will be back at some point in the near future, because he's a big miss, a massive miss, especially with the fact that Jalen Johnson is out. DeMarco Jackson went from limited to did not practice. Jalen Johnson, we know, obviously is going on to IR. Jalen Jones, also another cornerback, did not practice again. Out again. So the cornerback options are severely limited for Dennis Allen going into this weekend's game against the Cowboys. This is a worrying injury report. This is not a good injury report for the Bears. You'd want to see some signs of improvement, some signs of some players going from did not practice to at least limited, not just Grady Jarrett, to move this forward. But it isn't getting any better, and that is concerning. Given the fact that a lot of these guys who are out are, are top players. These are starters that are missing. We're missing obviously TJ Edwards, Kyler Gordon, Jalen Johnson. These are guys who would start in any normal season. Very bad, very dodgy. Jalen Johnson is a massive miss, a really, really big miss. Dennis Allen's spoken about the fact that being without him is a massive hindrance. He also spoke about Shamar Turner, interestingly, today as well, the rookie who was a healthy scratch for that those first two games. He said that in terms of Shamar, he says really it's just to continue to work in practice. He missed a lot of time in training camp, but I think he's turning a corner, and then it's about taking advantage of the opportunity when it comes on game day. So it feels like a little bit like Shamar Turner may start to be a little bit more included in the coming weeks, and certainly given the fact that Coleston Loveland played very little part in that Lions game, as did Luther Burden. Trapillo and Turner both healthy scratches. It certainly does beg questions of the first 4 picks in the draft, that none of them were really involved very much in the game. Right, guys, look, that's how it stands for us. Now, in terms of those Dallas Cowboys, it's only really Deron Bland who is going to be out. He obviously did not practice. In terms of the rest of that lineup, in terms of Trayvon Diggs, Tyler Guyton, and the wide receiver, they all went from limited to full participants. So it looks like the Cowboys are going to be essentially healthy. Having Trayvon Diggs back obviously is a big one for them. Missing Bland is a big miss for them, but they're coming back towards being fully healthy. Worrying times, certainly, that they're getting themselves back and fully fit, and we're missing a lot of starters. It is not starting this season well, and it's worrying. And as a Bears fan, I'd love to be bringing you nice, positive, happy news, but it's just how it is at the moment, guys. It's worrying times to be a Bears fan. Guys, let me know your thoughts in the comments on these updates. Thanks for watching. If you've enjoyed the content, please like, comment, share, and subscribe, and we'll catch you on the next one. Bear down.